Some women enter your life not with noise, but with a gentle silence. They don't force their way in. They don't demand your attention. Instead, they make you feel seen, heard, and even cherished. And yet, in that same silence, they slowly begin to reshape who you are. Not with obvious control, not with confrontation, but with subtle influence. And the most dangerous part, you rarely notice it's happening until you've already lost parts of yourself. This manipulation doesn't scream, it doesn't argue, it doesn't raise red flags in the beginning. It feels like love, it looks like care, it moves like someone who understands you. And that's what makes it so difficult to detect. Because by the time you begin to ask questions, you're already emotionally entangled. Your sense of identity has already started to blur. Your decisions no longer feel like your own. And your emotional compass, the one you once trusted, now second guesses itself. This is not a video meant to blame women. It's a call for awareness. It's a mirror held up to patterns most men don't realize they're trapped in. Unless you learn to distinguish between the woman who truly loves you and the one who thrives on making you emotionally dependent, you will stay stuck in a cycle that slowly erodes your confidence, clarity, and control. Maybe you've been feeling restless without knowing why. Maybe you've found yourself constantly worried about her feelings, her reactions, her moods, so much so that you forgot to check in with your own. Maybe you're terrified of losing her, but in that fear, you've already lost yourself. That's when emotional manipulation begins to show its face, but not in the way you might expect. It doesn't arrive through arguments or accusations. It appears in phrases like, "You're overreacting," "I'm doing this for your own good," or "You always take things too personally." It hides behind concern. It wears the mask of support. But underneath it's control, gentle, steady, and relentless. Let me make something clear. Real love does not erase your sense of self. It doesn't make you question your own thoughts, feelings, or instincts. A woman who genuinely loves you wants to understand you, not redesign you. She stands beside you, not above you. But some women, perhaps without even realizing it themselves, try to gain power in a relationship by weakening the man in front of them. And they do it with silence, not shouting. With subtlety, not storms. In this video, I will walk you through 5 silent signs of emotional manipulation that many men fail to recognize, until it's too late. Each sign may appear harmless at first. Each one may look like love. But over time, they leave you feeling smaller, more confused, and unsure of who you are. These signs don't just harm your relationship, they harm your sense of self. If what I've said so far feels familiar, you're not alone. Countless men go through this silently. They don't talk about it, because the manipulation never looks aggressive, it never sounds dangerous, but inside it chips away at who they are. That's why recognizing these patterns is your first act of strength. And if this video helps you see something clearly, take a moment to subscribe. Leave a comment saying, "I've felt this." Because when men start sharing, healing begins, awareness spreads, and cycles break. Let's start with the first sign. She always acts like she's right, but somehow, you're the one who ends up feeling guilty. At first, it seems like a regular disagreement, a minor misunderstanding. Maybe she sees something differently, and you respect that. But over time, you notice a pattern. Every discussion turns into a courtroom. Every issue becomes your fault. You begin to question your own reactions, your emotions, even your memory. You might say something that bothers you. Her response? "You're too sensitive." You explain your side, but she interrupts with, "That's not what happened." The more you try to express yourself, the more twisted the conversation becomes, until eventually you're apologizing, for things you didn't even do. This is not conflict resolution, it's emotional redirection. She doesn't need to raise her voice or insult you. She simply manipulates the narrative. And when that happens often enough, you begin to silence yourself before even speaking. You weigh every word. You choose silence over expression. Because somewhere along the way, you started to believe that your truth didn't matter. But here's what's even more dangerous. She convinces you that it's all love, that she's doing this because she cares. I'm just being honest. I know what's best for you. I'm only trying to help. And slowly, you internalize the guilt. You stop trusting your instincts. You become cautious, uncertain, hesitant. You become a quieter version of yourself, not because she told you to, but because you've been emotionally trained to. If this resonates with you, stop and reflect. Because when love feels like a trial, when you're constantly defending your emotions, your thoughts, your choices, that's not love. That's control. And the most dangerous thing control does? It convinces you that you need it. Let's move to the second sign. I'm doing this for your own good. At first, this sentence feels warm. It feels like someone who wants to protect you. And in a healthy relationship, care and guidance can be beautiful. But manipulation dresses itself in concern, and this phrase becomes a shield that hides the real intention: domination. She says you should spend less time with your friends because they don't really support you. She suggests you stay away from your family because they've always made you feel small. She tells you to quit your job because you deserve better, but it's draining you. On the surface, it all sounds reasonable, even thoughtful. But underneath it all, your world begins to shrink. Your choices start fading, and the person making decisions is no longer you. You might think, she just wants what's best for me. But soon, you realize you've stopped living for yourself. You've stopped choosing for yourself. Your dreams, your voice, your instincts, they've been replaced by hers. And that shift happens quietly, with a smile, with I love you, with trust me. Real love respects your independence. It may offer opinions, but it never demands obedience. A healthy partner doesn't mold you into someone else. She stands beside you while you grow. She doesn't shrink your world in the name of care. So, ask yourself, are the decisions you're making still your own? Or are they being carefully shaped by someone else's comfort, fears, or insecurities? Because when someone consistently speaks for your benefit but acts in their own interest, that's not love, it's ownership. And no man should live like that. If you constantly feel like you're the one at fault, no matter how kind, giving, or understanding you are, there's a game being played. And you may not even know you're part of it. In some relationships, an invisible imbalance forms. You try your best. You give more, bend more, apologize more. And yet, somehow, you're always the one who ends up feeling guilty. Not because you've done something wrong, but because the emotional environment is built in such a way that you carry the weight of every misunderstanding. You didn't mean to hurt her. In fact, you may have gone out of your way just to make her feel better, to show your love, to offer support. But still, you're the one who misunderstood. You're the one who said the wrong thing. You're the one who made her cry. Somehow, it always circles back to you. As if, in this relationship, guilt has only one address, and it's yours. And the strangest part? You begin to hesitate even to question it, because when you try to defend yourself, you're accused of turning things around, of being insensitive, or of refusing to listen. The cycle repeats, over and over. This is one of the most dangerous forms of emotional manipulation. It's quiet, it's polished. It doesn't yell at you. It lets you drown in your own overthinking. It turns your empathy into a weapon used against you, and it always makes you second-guess yourself before you ever question her. But here's the truth. In a relationship where you are constantly made to feel like the one who's wrong, the problem is not just what you did. The real issue lies in how someone else is controlling the emotional narrative. Love shouldn't feel like standing trial every time you speak your mind. It shouldn't make you feel like walking on eggshells to keep the peace. A relationship built on guilt is not a bond of love. It's a strategy of control. And the most vulnerable targets of this kind of manipulation? Empathetic men, good men, men who feel deeply, men who are wired to protect, to fix, to keep peace. The kind of man who, when something goes wrong, doesn't point a finger, but instead asks himself, "Did I do something wrong?" And to someone who thrives on control, this is the perfect opening. Because guilt gives power. If she can make you feel like the cause of her sadness, her anger, her coldness, then she never has to take responsibility. You will. Over time, you begin to shrink. You doubt your choices. You stop making decisions. You suppress your feelings, not because you don't feel them, but because you're afraid of how they might be received. You stop being a partner. You start becoming a prisoner, with limited freedom, restricted voice, and a growing silence inside. Real love doesn't require you to live in defense mode. It doesn't ask you to apologize just for being human. It offers space. It offers understanding. It says, "Tell me how you feel," not, "You're wrong to feel that way." So if your relationship has become a place where you're constantly justifying your emotions, explaining every step, or trying to gain her approval, stop and ask yourself, are you still being you, or just a version of yourself designed to avoid conflict? Because when a woman repeatedly makes you feel like you've hurt her, even when you're just expressing your truth, what she's doing isn't love, it's emotional imprisonment. And she uses her own pain as a tool to control you. Her fragility becomes a weapon. And instead of becoming a more thoughtful man, you become a more cautious one, not in love, but on alert. And there's no intimacy in alertness, no connection in fear, no love in constant guilt. Let's now talk about one of the most silent but cruel tactics, the punishment of silence. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting, especially when it's used to punish. If you've ever found yourself on the receiving end of cold silence from a woman you love, you know exactly what I mean. Maybe you said something she didn't like, or maybe you didn't react the way she expected. Suddenly, she's no longer there. Not physically, but emotionally. Your messages go unanswered. Her eyes avoid yours. She's present, but only in body. Emotionally, she has left the room. And this, too, is manipulation. A subtle form, a deeply psychological one. It's not about solving problems, it's about freezing you out until you surrender. You start to panic. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Did I hurt her? The silence isn't just uncomfortable, it becomes a trigger. It activates something ancient inside you, the fear of abandonment. And before you know it, you're chasing, apologizing, offering explanations for things you're not even sure happened. This is the trap. Silence becomes her power, and your fear of losing her becomes your weakness. You might try to talk, you want to fix things. You say, "Can we just talk about it?" But her response is cold, distant. "I'm not ready to talk." Or worse, "I don't even know what to say." Meanwhile, your silence is not an option. You are expected to wait, to guess, to fix. All the emotional burden lands on you. This is not love. This is a power play. In a healthy relationship, silence is never used as a punishment. It might be a pause, a space for reflection, but never a weapon. When a woman uses silence to create fear, to provoke guilt, to demand control, she is not expressing pain. She is asserting dominance. And here's the most dangerous part. Over time, you begin to question your own emotions. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm not respecting her space. But the truth is, if her silence doesn't bring clarity, doesn't invite conversation, doesn't lead to growth, it's not silence, it's emotional blackmail. In a true relationship, problems are solved through communication, not silence. A woman who loves you might get upset, might feel hurt, might even get angry, but she talks. She doesn't vanish emotionally to make you beg for her presence. So, if you find yourself constantly trying to break through her silence, trying to decode her coldness, trying to fix what's not being named, there's an imbalance. And if you're the only one trying, it's no longer a relationship. It's a performance, and you're the only one on stage. Now, stop and ask yourself, am I still able to hear my own voice in this relationship? Or am I so busy trying to interpret her silence that I've lost touch with my own truth? Because some people stay silent to make you think, but others stay silent to make you forget. And the only way to tell the difference is this: does her silence make you stronger, or does it make you weaker? If it makes you weaker, it's not love. It's control, and you deserve better.